He's hurt. Right. Oh. Thanks.
Hey, hi, hello. Ah, this is my second video on this channel, and as you can see, I am extremely excited. I want this to be super clear so you can walk away understanding exactly what you can do when you feel like you've put your mind to something and it's just not working. It didn't pan out the way that you expected it to. Hard work may have not been the answer. And what do you do now? I want that answer to be super clear to all of you. If you hear any snoring, there's actually a dog right next to me. His name is Kebab, and he's my friend's dog, and he's napping. So we're just going to get into it. My name is Rayhan Ihan. I have spent the last year being a fulfillment and creativity coach, and really what that means is if you wanted to start a YouTube channel, start a podcast, start a creative business, turn your passions and something that you love doing into a profitable venture. That's what I was helping a lot of my clients do over the past year or so. Before that, I was a solutions engineer at a technology company, at two technology companies. And so I had a career in technology. I was a corporate girly, lived that life. That's me. Those are my accomplishments. Thank you for tuning in. No. So when I came up with this particular episode, that is actually a part of a new series that I'm calling The Empress Diaries, I was thinking about what it feels like to be a woman in business and trying really hard to not be in your masculine energy all the time as you're out in the world solving problems and needing to be serious, needing to put your emotions aside a lot of the time to make the best decision possible for a business. It's such a hard balance to create as a woman because you have to be all the things, right? And we don't have to go into that today. But when you put your mind to something and it just doesn't work, what do you actually do with that? And I wanted to share a story of when I was in high school and I grew up in New York City. Shows my personality. But I was applying for colleges, like most of us do, our senior year. I remember pretty much setting up my entire life to just get into the best college possible. I did all the right things, and I knew I was doing all the right things. I was an excellent student. I was a part of all these sports teams. I had all these extracurriculars, and I had a lot of fun doing all of it, really. But I was inauthentic about one big thing in my life, and that was rowing. I like rowing. I didn't love rowing. I liked rowing, but I was doing it every day, or sorry, 6 days a week. And it's a really intense sport. And so I did like the actual sport, which is confusing. I liked the sport. I just didn't like having to compete and needing to be on all the time for a sport that I just didn't love. I just liked it. And I enjoyed doing it at times, but I didn't like love it most of the time. I didn't love it enough to say I want to be ambitious and I really want to be the best that I can be at this sport. That's how you know you really love something, is when you have this fire in you. I didn't have a fire in me. I was a rower for 3.5 years, I believe. And it led me to writing my personal statement for colleges about rowing. Mind you, I said I was from New York City. I grew up as a child of immigrants in New York City with very little money. And here I am as this ambitious young woman who wanted to be the best student possible, got out of her comfort zone, joined all these organizations, said yes to anything that came her way that was interesting and exciting to her, and just like paved their own path in high school compared to maybe most other kids at that time that I was around, you know, and other students were still smart, but I don't think they were aspiring to be as well-rounded as I was and as willing to maybe get out of their comfort zone as me and just a few other of my peers. And so because of that, I knew I had a good resume of diverse things that could put me in a good position to get into a really good school. And so when I wrote this personal statement about rowing, I didn't think to myself at the time, like, is this really what you want to be talking about? Like, is this the realest personal story you can share? And I don't think I believed in hindsight, right? I don't think I believed that my own personal story was enough for a school, a really good school with smart people evaluating me, to really consider me. Meanwhile, that story of grit, of resilience, of ambition, of being dedicated and being willing to get out of my comfort zone, being adaptable and learning all of these important life skills are exactly what a college wants. They want somebody who's able to break out of the norm and pave their own way. They want their students to have that energy, at least like the right schools. And I just didn't believe that that was what I was, and I just didn't have that self-awareness, which is totally fine. But I'm glad at this point in my life, I know that because I failed to truly learn that lesson the first time, which led me to create this video because I had gone off and created this entire career in technology where parts of it were very authentic. And it is hard, I think, to live a truly authentic life and to live in the kind of freedom that you want to live in and with. And to do that at a young age when you have to make sacrifices, and that's just a part of life. It's the only way to really, I think, succeed in business and to win in a lot of areas in life. But I had left my tech career for a whole year, maybe a break, but I left that year and I wanted to start a business. I don't think the right decision was to go with whatever was already working beforehand, even though that's what everyone says. And so by that, I mean, while I was working in tech, I was already coaching. I just kept saying yes to these kinds of opportunities or questions that were coming my way from friends in particular, and being able to create a package around that and considering myself to be a coach while I was still working in tech. And I thought that after I left tech or left my career in technology, that I could just continue that and scale that, and that was going to be the business. But there's a difference between can and letting your body and your energy even letting you do that. Meaning that I had this whole strategy, I had multiple strategies that were given to me and co-tailored by coaches that I was hiring, so then I can go off and create these masterminds or create these offers and really build myself up to having this coaching career. But the subconscious will always show itself in reality and show itself in your results. And it would be a reason, or it has all the things that would create some sort of self-sabotaging in your life. And for me, it was because it wasn't completely authentic. Just like when I was preparing to go to college, I didn't see it then. I didn't see that situation as something that would have affected the kind of schools that I got into, right? Would have affected my future in a lot of ways. I didn't see that inauthentic choice as something that led me to the confusion that I experienced while I was getting rejected from schools that I thought were my safety schools, or that would be my safety schools. And even my guidance counselor was confused. It's like everybody around me was so confused. And in a way, it was like weirdly validating, if you can relate to that, right? Where you're like, yeah, this is a confusing situation. Being like, why is life so hard? And really, it's like, no, we all had a say in some way as to why things work out the way that they did. And I knew at that time that essay actually wasn't the realist story that I should be sharing, and I just chose not to do that. And again, I was young, that's life, and I see it now. But in this situation, I didn't realize that I actually didn't learn the lesson, because if I had learned that lesson, I wouldn't have recreated it in an entirely different way, right? Where instead of saying, okay, wait, I was coaching part-time and that was good, and I've gotten enough feedback on what I'm able to do outside of this technical career, I said, full forces, let's go ahead and build this into this big business. And you see these masterminds online, and you see all these coaches and all these things. That was a big snore. Sidetracked. I got almost convinced that reality was what my reality needed to be, when really it's like, just like in that scenario in college, I was already paving my own way, and I should have just continued to listen to that voice that was saying, this is authentic, this is real, this is different, but it still has worked for other people, but it's different because it's real to you and it's authentic to you, versus in this situation, I could have left my technical career and really sat down and asked myself, okay, you've gotten everything you need. You did all the right things. Again, now what is the most authentic path to take, even if you have no idea what happens next? Because even with coaching, in anything entrepreneurial, you realistically have no idea what happens next. But you want to be able to make a choice towards the thing that feels like it just comes most naturally to you. Really ask yourself, even though I've done this before, is this really the thing that I want to scale? Is this where I'm going to be putting all of this energy and this desire to help people in? Still, there are no regrets. And if you're in a situation like this, or you're relating to kind of the energy of what I'm describing, of putting your head down and really trying something that didn't work, just know that there's so much value in whatever you tried doing. There's so much you could take away from it. Me trying to figure out the kinds of containers that I wanted to put clients in, having these different conversations, seeing myself come up with different kinds of ways of approaching things, and even seeing myself get stuck and realizing that I don't think I should be pursuing something that puts me in a situation where I just constantly feel stuck. It's one thing to feel like you've got a sticky situation and you're trying to like figure out how to manage all these different things. That is naturally just a part of the experience, comes with the territory. But to feel like nothing is really moving forward, there isn't enough momentum, those are clear signs that you just need to be pivoting, and maybe even not so far away. So for me, what I've learned and what I'm doing now moving forward, just as an example for you as well, is I'm moving into speaking and I'm creating my own platforms, i.e. being on YouTube. And I've had my podcast for a while, which is called the Rich Soul Podcast. I've like moved away from video. When I was a little girl, I was making videos all the time. And a lot of us were just growing up on YouTube and watching these videos and wanting to be a part of that, right? And so I'm letting myself create that stage and connecting with others, with other women and the people that I should be serving, instead of that one-to-one level all the time, making the business this one-to-many experience and creating stages for myself, getting hired to speak on stages. I love to present. I love to get on a stage and perform and go home to dinner and a movie and to talk to nobody. That is my personality. But the thing was, I wasn't being honest with myself about that, right? I was listening to a lot of other people in my life as well, which is like the worst thing you could be doing during a time where you're trying to figure out this next big chapter, not just like what to do next, but the next big thing, you know, because people will talk you out of it. And if people don't see you for your talents and for what you are and who you are, you can really get caught up in what they're saying. And that one little piece of doubt, it kind of is like, this is a really exaggerated analogy, but bear with me. It's kind of like cancer, right? It just like, it comes into your body, or any disease really, but just takes over and suddenly it's all infected and it's everywhere and it just kills you from the inside out. And it's just so dangerous because, especially when you're an entrepreneur and you're working for yourself, your mind and where your focus goes is absolutely everything. It dictates how your days go, and how your days go dictates how your business goes. Really being mindful of who you're around, making sure you have the right community of people around you who, when they're aligned with what they're doing, then it allows you to realize that, oh shit, I'm not aligned with what I should actually be doing. I'm not being as honest with myself as I'm seeing that person be honest with themselves, right? It's like, that is the beauty of having aligned connections and authentic connections at that too. It doesn't mean like those other friends aren't friends anymore, right? It's more so like, gotta find the right people for this next chapter in your life. So then you have some examples and you've got this like energetic circle of people that understand where you're at. So you're not making inauthentic decisions just because you don't know what to do next. I hope that helps. The entrepreneurial journey is a tricky one if that's what, you know, what you're working on, but just zooming out, even just like thinking about the topic in general, right? Like when I was applying for college and these situations where one big decision turns into what ends up being the next path forward. And there's no reason to regret any of those decisions. There's no reason to regret any hard work you've ever put into something, because you've given life to it, and it got a chance to be able to be experienced by the world. You got to learn. Other people still got value from what I shared, right? So I'm sure you were able to experience that too. And then that's just a part of your story. And now moving forward, I get to tell people I was a coach for a whole year, until I realized I wanted to just talk in this format in a way that like really connected with people for like 30 minutes at a time versus, constantly being on calls and all these really elaborate one-to-one in-depth sessions, which like just doesn't feel like me, at least not right now. It doesn't feel authentic. And so, yeah, you're allowed to move forward. You're allowed to pivot, right? Mine feels more like a pivot. Maybe for you, it's more of this drastic change, but realizing that, we can put our mind to something, but if it's not the thing, then it might not breed the kinds of results that you want. But really, I think life, the universe, whatever you believe in, is trying to guide you, to align you to that thing. So when you do pour into it, it can't help but give you so much in return because it's right for you. And we can spend our lives trying to find the things right for us. In every moment in time, if we're honest with ourselves, it'll show itself. And you've just got to be able to say yes and then follow that next step. Yes, follow that next step. And that's what I'm doing now. So I'm along that journey with you. And I know that's the right thing to do because I experienced something like this, like I said, around high school. And I can see the journey of like what worked after I had made some of those pivots and changes and had been honest with myself. And now it's just time to do it again in a different way and realize that to create long-term success, you've got to be authentic. You've got to be really honest with yourself. Otherwise, somewhere in the business, somewhere in life, there's going to be a disconnect and you're going to wonder why. And it's because there's a lack of true honesty in what you're doing. And what you're doing is your life. It's the way you think about things. It's how you show up in the world, right? And so if you're inauthentic in one thing, it shows everywhere else. So I hope this is helpful for you. Thank you for tuning in. This is the first episode of the Empress Diaries series. While I'm sharing all of these things, I want this to be a little bit of like the behind the scenes of what really goes on and what's going on in my own mind, what's working, what's not working, how I'm handling it as I consider myself to be a leader, and as a leader that's growing into an incredible woman. I'm going to leave you there. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you on the next one. Love you so, so, so much. Bye.